and welcome. I'm Samantha Simmons. It's feared that thousands of people may have been killed by Cyclone Chido in the French archipelago of Mayotte in the Indian Ocean. A local official has been quoted as saying that the death toll may be in the thousands. Residents have spoken of apocalyptic scenes in Mayotte. The mayor of the capital, Mahmoud Zou, said nothing had been spared. Houses have been destroyed along with schools and the hospital. French emergency personnel are now on Mayotte to assist and the first aid flight has arrived. Chido has now reached northern Mozambique after picking up strength crossing the Mozambique Channel. Nick Johnson reports.
Winds of more than 140 miles per hour batter the French island territory. It's thought to be Mayotte's worst cyclone in a century. Islanders take shelter in any way they can. It takes 3 people to keep the door closed from the power of the storm. There's nothing left here, this man says. Most of the archipelago's 300,000 inhabitants live in shanty towns. Tens of thousands have lost their homes. Electricity and water supplies have been affected and internet services are down. A local firefighter said even buildings built to withstand earthquakes have collapsed. The French government has sent a military transport plane with supplies and emergency workers. The French Prime Minister, François Bayrou, who's only been in the job since Friday, has held an emergency meeting in Paris.
What matters isn't only the short term and the rescue and help we can provide, but also the medium term with the supply of water and food, in particular for sensitive facilities, including prisons and detention centres.
A combination of severe damage, an impoverished population and isolated location mean Mayotte's death toll is expected to rise. Nick Johnson, BBC News.
As you heard there, the cyclone is now bringing torrential rains to northern Mozambique. Guy Taylor is the spokesman for UNICEF in Mozambique and joins us now from Pemba. Guy, welcome to you. Good to have you on the programme. Just describe the situation there. What's the weather conditions like?
So the storm has largely passed over Mozambique now, but we were hit very hard in the early hours of this morning when Cyclone Chido arrived in Mozambique as an intense tropical cyclone. It brought winds of over 200 kilometres an hour and, as you said, very intense rainfall. And we've been out in the city today seeing some of the aftermath of that impact. So many houses destroyed or seriously damaged, healthcare facilities, schools put out of action, and obviously people trying to pull together their lives after a very serious impact. So a very difficult situation here in Mozambique.
Yeah, and what is UNICEF doing in terms of its crisis response there?
Yeah, well, fortunately, we saw this cyclone coming as many others did, and that enabled us to prepare. We pre-positioned large quantities of essential supplies in Pemba, where we have a warehouse, and we've already begun distributing those to the hardest hit. So things like water purification supplies, medications, supplies to prevent and treat the spread of cholera and other waterborne diseases, which is another serious concern for us given the large volume of rainfall.
And as you said, lots of homes, medical facilities, schools damaged. What are the longer term challenges the country is now going to face, and what help are you going to be able to offer?
Yeah, well, as you say, the longer term challenges are what we're particularly concerned about. I mean, Mozambique is one of the poorest countries in the world, and Cabo Delgado, the province which has been hit, is one of the poorest provinces in the country. We already have about 3.4 million people in Mozambique, 3.4 million children in need of humanitarian assistance. And this is only going to make the situation worse for them. We're concerned in the immediate term about loss of access to critical services, things like medical treatment, schools, and clean water and sanitation, which are, of course, critical to preventing the spread of disease. And then, as I mentioned, we're also worried about the spread of diseases like cholera and malaria over the longer term.
So you're a major aid organisation that's there on the ground. Is there any sign of any more international aid or help coming?
We're working very closely together with other UN partners and with support from our international supporters. We are very concerned about the scale of the need, particularly as it's exacerbating an already very difficult situation. And so we're calling urgently for additional funding to help us meet the the needs of the people here who are really in a very, very difficult and very precarious situation.
OK, Guy Taylor from UNICEF, thank you for joining us from Pemba.
Thank you.